Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Bill Tonita, the NDP candidate in Strathcona-Sherwood Park, and I'm joined here today by Heather Sweet, MLA for Edmonton Manning, and the Agriculture and Rural Economic Development Critic, as well as Karen Shaw, the NDP candidate for Morinville-St. Albert. I would like to thank my colleagues, Councillor Glenn Lawrence, Katie Berghofer, and Aaron Nelson for also joining me here today as well. I also want to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 6, and I acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. We are here today at Noni's Grill, an artisan shop in South Cooking Lake. I want to thank our hosts for allowing us to be here today. This is just one of the many businesses in Strathcona County and rural Alberta that are experiencing difficulties because they don't have access to reliable internet services. Access to high-speed internet, affordable internet, is essential for diversifying our economy and creating jobs. But the digital divide is growing under the UCP, and hundreds of thousands of Albertans are at risk of being left behind. In this area, almost 30,000 residents and 1,100 businesses don't have access to reliable high-speed internet. In July of last year, the UCP government announced funding for broadband projects. And at the time they said details on how this new funding will roll out will be coming in the next few weeks. And then in December of last year, they made another funding announcement, this time with the federal government, and said, Albertans can look forward to having shovels in the ground in the 2022 construction season. And yet another funding announcement this past March, as Minister Nate Glubish said they would get shovels in the ground this spring. Well, that's 3 separate announcements promising details on how funding will be rolled out and promising broadband projects would start this year. I know that my council colleagues in Strathcona County continue to be frustrated because it's an issue that's very important to us. And now it's August. We're past the midway point of the construction season with cooler temperatures just around the corner, and the UCP has yet to break ground on a single project. In fact, they haven't even announced which projects will receive funding. Even if they announced funding tomorrow, there's no way that recipients would have time to get started on projects before the end of this construction season. These good days of summer are going to waste. Minister Glubish said in June that he was still working on applications, and the details regarding funding would soon be distributed. He said it was his #1 priority, but he seems more preoccupied these days with the UCP leadership race and securing a cabinet position than delivering on broadband. These broken promises mean the UCP will fail to deliver on broadband during their term in office. To speak further on the impacts this has on rural businesses, I want to turn things over to my colleague, Karen Shaw.
Thank you, Bill. Having access to rural and efficient internet is absolutely critical to rural businesses and residents. As a cattle farmer, I know the importance of being able to connect with the outside world directly on our farm. And I can't stress that enough. It is critical. The world is online, and we cannot ignore that fact. To be able to check commodity pricing, complete paperwork, and connect with suppliers from my farm can directly affect our bottom line. Farmers and ranchers without affordable access to high-speed internet can see a reduction in their profits by approximately 70%, according to the study on connectivity out of the University of Missouri. A 70% loss during a time when everything is becoming so expensive can mean bankruptcy or closure for a farm. Some in my riding who have been in operations for generations. Just think about that, 70%. I have seen the importance of having access to reliable high-speed internet for residents in rural areas during my time as a county councillor. For residents to be involved in their communities and for residents to be connected to their neighbors virtually has been highlighted as deeply important over the course of the pandemic. There is a significant improvement to your mood and your quality of life when you can be connected and be involved with your community. It's 2022. Rural communities in Alberta should be connected. They should have access to the internet, and there is no excuse for this delay. And to speak more on the effects of what this has on rural communities, I would like to turn things over to Heather Sweet.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Bill, and thank you to all the councillors that have joined us here today. The lack of affordable and reliable high-speed internet is one of the top issues that I hear about when traveling the province and talking to rural Albertans. Rural Alberta communities cannot succeed if they're not connected. High-speed internet is essential. It affects everything from the family farm to whether towns and counties can attract people to live and enjoy rural Alberta's terrific quality of life. If we're going to move forward together as a province, we need to embrace the future, and we can't leave anyone behind. But, as Bill mentioned, all the UCP has done is make funding announcements and re-announcements without any real action. It's clear the UCP doesn't have a plan, but the Alberta NDP does. In November last year, we released our broadband strategy. It was a detailed proposal following more than a year of extensive consultations with internet service providers, municipalities, and of course, Albertans. Our plan would create a new agency called the Digital Innovation Alberta to achieve 100% coverage, and it would work with municipalities, Indigenous leaders, internet service providers, utility companies, gas co-ops to develop practical solutions that meet the needs in every region across the province. We would hold a series of open and competitive reverse auctions to find bids to provide the highest speed at the lowest price. And most importantly, a UCP government or an NDP government will deliver broadband coverage to every corner of the province within our first mandate. By doing so, we can build a modern, diversified economy and create good paying jobs across Alberta. The UCP needs to stop these delays. They need to get shovels in the ground, and they need to start these projects immediately. Thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions.
All right, thank you, Heather, and thank you, Karen and Bill. We'll now go to questions. Just a reminder for those joining us on the phone to use the *9 function, and for those joining us on Zoom to use the raise hand function to get into the question queue. Once your line is open, please state your name and outlet off the top. We'll go to our first caller, which is Catherine Grzowski from Alberta Today. Go ahead, Catherine.
Alberta Today. So part of that plan involves an affordability credit, and I'm wondering, since a lot of people in the county are on satellite internet, just how much more expensive is satellite compared to the fiber optic?
Well, again, Catherine, thanks for the question. What we want to see happen under our plan is that we're working with municipalities and diverse partners to make sure that the service that is being provided is at the lowest cost to Albertans. So we know that that can be diverse across the province. That can be everything from fiber optics to satellite services. But again, this is about ensuring that whatever is being proposed is at the lowest cost for the region that it's going to represent. So that has to be working with municipalities. We're hearing that many municipalities across the province, and of course, Bill and his colleagues will speak to that as well, is that they already have a plan in place. They're just waiting for the government to come forward and give them the okay to go ahead and get those shovels in the ground.
Okay, and as a follow-up then, I mean, this has been talked about going back to the PC government. It was an issue when you and the NDP were in government. It's an issue still with the UCP. So how would you make sure that this is not just talked about, but that you actually deliver on this? What are you going to do differently?
Well, again, we've made the commitment that we will have rural broadband across Alberta by the end of our mandate. So if elected in 2023, you will see the NDP having rural broadband across the province by the end of our term. I think Bill can actually speak more to the partnership currently with the current government and what the municipality is trying to do and what they're prepared to do to get broadband across their local region.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I can tell you that the county here has spent a fair bit of time investigating what we might do in terms of improving broadband access across Strathcona County. What we're really looking for is that partnership with the federal government and the province. It's wonderful that the province has announced they've got money, and it's wonderful that the federal government has announced that they have money, but until they come to the table and meet with municipalities to say, here's what we'll do. We will work with you to ensure that we build out broadband access across Alberta. Nothing is going to happen. We need real action, and we need it now.
Anything further, Catherine?
Sure. How do you prioritize which community gets that internet first? Because there's many pockets of the province still struggling with no internet. So who gets it first?
Well, again, the plan that we presented about a year ago that we actually took to RMA and presented to all the municipal leaders is a clear plan to work with community partners. And so this isn't about picking winners or losers. This is about working with municipalities and their partners in working on the plan that they've already developed. Again, we're hearing from across the province that municipalities already have a plan. They're just waiting for the province to give them the go-ahead. And so we would work in collaboration with those municipalities, with those utility providers, our gas co-ops, and of course our Indigenous partners to ensure that everybody has access to getting those projects and those shovels in the ground as soon as we become government in 2023.
We'll go to our next caller. Please state your name and outlet off the top. Go ahead, caller. Your line is open.
Hi, it's Ashley from the Edmonton Journal. I'm just trying to understand where municipalities are in the current process. Has the government requested that you submit projects and you're just waiting to hear back to see whether those projects will be funded? Or do you not even have yet the the explanation for how projects would qualify?
Yeah, thanks very much for the question. I can tell you that in this community, Strathcona County has investigated a plan. We've done all the legwork to create a plan to roll out broadband in Strathcona County. The issue is more funding. It can't fall totally on the backs of municipalities. It's got to be a partnership with the federal government and the provincial government. So if we had an announcement tomorrow that says government will fund a project, we could have projects moving forward very, very rapidly in this community. While I can't speak for all municipalities, I think the same story is true of many other rural and urban municipalities across Alberta. They've been working on this, but they don't have the funding to fund this 100% out of their own pockets.
Do you have a follow-up, Ashley?
No, that's good. Thank you.
All right, and we'll do one last pass for questions. Just a reminder for those on the phone to use *9 and for those on Zoom to use the raise hand function. And with no further questions, we'll wrap today. Thanks, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Alberta's NDP is working hard to build Alberta's future and to build a future that involves all Albertans. The momentum is building. If you want to be part of it, join us at albertasndp.ca.